In a quiet neighborhood ruled by an iron-fisted HOA, one man was fined for building a floodgate. They mocked him, punished him, and labeled him a rebel. But when the storm came, his defiance became their salvation. They called themselves protectors of order. But behind every fine, every rule, was greed, not care. The HOA was feared, not respected. But then, there was David. A man who saw the cracks no one wanted to admit. A man who built a simple wooden floodgate behind his house. The HOA fined him instantly. Against neighborhood guidelines, they said. But David knew storms better than they did. He had lived through one. His neighbors whispered, some laughed. Who builds a wall for rain, they mocked. They didn't see the clouds in his memory. The HOA raised the fine. They sent letters, threats, and finally, a notice: tear it down, or face legal action. David read their threats, folded the letter, and kept building. Because in his heart, he knew the storm wasn't a matter of if, but when. Then one night, the air shifted. Winds carried whispers of rain. A storm was coming. And David's floodgate stood alone, ready. David warned them. But the HOA scoffed. We've handled rain for decades. Your wooden gate is nothing but trash. But when the rain fell, it wasn't just rain. It was the kind that drowns streets, the kind that breaks homes. And David's gate stood like a soldier. The HOA board gathered, papers in hand. Their decision was final: John would pay, or face legal action. John's wife begged him to let it go. But his eyes burned with conviction: this gate isn't for me. It's for everyone. He refused to tear it down. Instead, he reinforced it, working late nights under flickering porch lights. Neighbors whispered. Some mocked him, others admired his courage. But the HOA saw him as an enemy. They served him another notice, this time threatening court. Still, John didn't waver. He fixed every weak spot, sealing every crack. If the storm comes, this will hold, he said. Storm clouds thickened, the sky a canvas of fury. The HOA laughed, that gate won't save you. The first drops fell. Heavy. Relentless. The storm had arrived. Water surged through drains, streets beginning to flood. Neighbors panicked, except John. His gate held. Neighbors watched in shock as water rose, but his yard stayed dry. Mr. Collins tightened the last bolt on his wooden floodgate, sweat dripping from his brow. He wasn't building for himself, he was protecting everyone. But the HOA didn't see it that way. Neighbors whispered, some laughing, others concerned. Crazy old man, thinks he can stop a storm. But deep down, one or two wondered, what if he was right? HOA board members arrived with clipboards, snapping pictures of his illegal structure. They handed him a fine. Collins simply wiped his hands and smiled. You'll pay for this, the lead board member sneered. Collins replied softly, no, I'm paying for all of you. That night, the first drops fell. Dark clouds swallowed the moon. The flood Collins predicted was coming. By morning, water began creeping into yards. Cars splashed through flooded streets. Neighbors panicked, except Collins, who stood ready. His floodgate stood firm as torrents pressed against it. The water diverted, straight past his house, saving the street behind him. Neighbors gasped. The man they mocked had saved them. The HOA board members hid behind umbrellas, suddenly silent. Collins didn't speak. He simply stood in the rain, watching as the water obeyed his work. His silence spoke louder than any fine. And when the storm passed, the street was still standing. Not because of rules, not because of fines, but because one man dared to care. The boy stares up at them. Wide-eyed. Confused. Then Cutter bends down and says, your dad was the bravest man I ever knew. Don't ever forget that. Sarah finally accepts the medal. Tears fall, but her spine stays straight. She whispers, "He always said you'd ride for him one last time." The church bell tolls. One low sound rolling across town. The brothers fall into line, guiding Sarah and her boy toward the chapel. Inside, the flag-draped casket waits. Cutter freezes at the door, helmet tucked under his arm. He's faced war, but this feels heavier. The widow walks first. Her boy presses the medal against his chest as if he knows exactly what it means. The pews fill with townsfolk. Farmers, teachers, bikers in leather. No one speaks. They all know silence can carry more weight than words. Cutter approaches the casket. His fingers trace the edge of the flag. He whispers so only Hawk could hear, "I made it home, brother. Because of you." Behind him, engines roar once outside, controlled, in unison. A salute not with rifles, but with the heartbeat of Harley-Davidsons. The sound vibrates through the church walls, shaking windows, rattling hearts. Sarah closes her eyes and lets it wash over her. The boy smiles faintly. He doesn't understand all of it yet, but he knows one thing: his dad mattered. And men came to prove it. Cutter takes his seat, head bowed. The pastor begins to speak, but all Cutter hears is the thunder outside, Hawk's brothers holding the line. And for the first time in years, Cutter lets a single tear fall. Not for guilt. Not for pain. But for the kind of loyalty that doesn't die. The service ends. Pallbearers lift Hawk's casket. The brothers stand, for outside, rows of motorcycles line the street, chrome gleaming like blades. Engines rumble low, steady, like a heartbeat waiting to rise. Sarah and her boy follow close. Every biker dips his head as they pass. Respect carved into silence. The procession moves toward the cemetery. Bikes fall in behind the hearse, 2 by 2, stretching longer than the eye can see. Cutter rides near the front. His grip is tight, his back straight. He feels Hawk's presence with every turn of the wheels. At the graveside, the casket lowers slowly. Wind stirs the grass, carrying the sound of engines idling in reverence. The pastor says his words, but the louder sermon is in the faces of the brothers, scarred, hardened, but soft with grief. Sarah lays the medal on top of the casket. Her son presses his palm against the wood. For a moment, the world is still. Then, every engine roars alive at once. The sound is thunder, a final salute. A promise that Hawk will never be forgotten. The roar fades into rhythm. One by one, the bikes peel out of the cemetery, forming a steel river back toward town. Windows slide open. People step onto porches, hats in hand. No one told them to come. Respect called them out. The boy clutches Sarah's hand. His eyes widen as the line of riders seems endless, every man saluting his father with throttle and chrome. Cutter leads the pack. Rain is gone now, roads steaming under sunlight. For the first time in years, he feels warmth instead of weight. He remembers the desert. Hawk's hand shoving him down. His own body hitting the dirt. The silence after the shot. Guilt, the courtroom filled. On one side, HOA lawyers in expensive suits. On the other, Daniel, his attorney, and rows of neighbors sitting shoulder to shoulder. The HOA opened with arrogance, claiming Daniel was a danger to order, that rules were rules, no exceptions. Then came Daniel's attorney, calm, steady, reminding the court that HOAs were meant to protect homeowners, not prey on them. Witnesses testified, families who had been fined for planting flowers, for painting fences, for children's toys left outside. Each story painted the same picture: the HOA wasn't protecting the neighborhood, it was exploiting it. The HOA's lawyer grew desperate, objecting, shouting, but the judge silenced him, demanding order. Then came the turning point. Daniel himself took the stand. Calmly, he explained why he built the floodgate, not for rebellion, but for safety. He spoke of the flood that nearly destroyed his home, of neighbors he saved with his wall, and of the simple truth: no rule should be stronger than humanity. The courtroom held its breath as Daniel's words echoed, a silence heavy enough to shake the walls themselves. The judge leaned forward, studying Daniel, then glanced at the stack of HOA complaints, and at the neighbors watching with hope. In that pause, decades of fear, fines, and intimidation seemed to hang on a single breath. Finally, the judge spoke: "This court finds the HOA's actions exploitative and unlawful. The case is dismissed." Neighbors wept, hugged Daniel, and for the first time, the HOA was powerless. In the weeks that followed, new leaders were elected, this time chosen by the community, not imposed on them. Daniel rebuilt his floodgate with the neighborhood's help, stronger, safer, and this time, celebrated, not punished. The HOA's shadow had lifted. What remained was unity, resilience, and the man who dared to stand. Cutter slows near a ridge. The pack halts with him. Below, the valley stretches wide, wind bending the tall grass like waves. He pulls Hawk's dog tags from his pocket. Stares at them.